Hi everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and thank you for being a part of this Global Power Platform Bootcamp 2022 Pune. And today I'm going to talk about how we can use Azure
Kirti.
DevOps. Hello,
Okay,
yeah,
sir. Yeah, sorry, we lost your voice for a couple of seconds.
okay. So yeah, I was saying that in this session I'm going to talk about how we can use Azure DevOps when we are talking about Power Apps deployment. So we know that how to use the CI/CD for SPFX component, but this was the new thing I was looking into and I implemented for such project. So I thought it's better to share with the community. So I will talk about that in the demo. And thanks to the sponsors, Muhimbi, Rapid Circle, and the organizers for Pune Tech Community. Without their support, this is not possible to have this highly scalable event virtually. So thank you, everyone. And before I jump into the actual session, I just want to briefly give you introduction who I am. So myself, Kirti Prajapati, and I am a Microsoft MVP MCT, and basically involved in the Office 365 development. And along with that, I'm also uh, a speaker in some local events as well as the international events, and sharing my thoughts and knowledge through blogs and providing some training to uh, the corporate people. And also with that, I'm also an organizer of M365 Ahmedabad user group. Under these user groups umbrella, we are organizing global power platform boot camps, then Office 365 development boot camp, SPS events, and of course some of the uh, workshops for the developer community, just to update them what has been released by Microsoft, so they can just brush up the skill and use those in their day-to-day life, day-to-day work life. Yeah, and if you want to get hold on me, then you can always be in touch with me on my social media, social handlers. So you can find those information on the right side of the screen. So in this session, I do not have anything to share in terms of the slides, so I will directly jump into the demo. As you know that it is very difficult when we are talking about moving one Power Apps from one environment to another environment, either it's a managed or unmanaged, and what type of headache we have to take care of when we are using import export options. So I thought it is better to have this process automated, and we can utilize the Azure DevOps. So today I will talk about the basic component which we should have before we think about the Azure DevOps for this Power Apps deployment. So first thing is you should have the Azure subscription, where we need to create some enterprise applications. That's the first thing. Then you should have different environments created. For example, if you have the dev environment for the Power Apps, then you can use that as the base, and you can move from there dev to UAT or the production. So that's the second requirement. And then the third one is you should have the Azure DevOps access, where you can actually create the these pipelines and builds and release that will help us to move the solution from one environment to another on environment, or your Power App from one environment to another environment. So first of all, we should be okay with, like, first the first option in the demo. Let me jump into the demo directly. So this is my, yeah, this is my Power Platform Admin Center, where you can see I have created two environment. This SPC Solutions is the default one, and this one I have created recently, SPC Dev. So in today's demo, what I'll talk about, I will create one solution with one Canvas app in this default environment, and then I will use the Azure DevOps and create this build and releases, and then move that solution from SPC Solutions default environment to SPC Dev, right? So this is the basic requirement, that you should have different environments available in your tenant. So I have two for now, but it could be more than two. If you want to use dev UAT production, you can have multiple environments for that case too. Now, the first thing for this implementation is uh, in Azure DevOps, in Azure portal, I will create one, the enterprise application. So let me just give me a minute so I can just jump into that. Yeah. So for that, you have to log in into your Azure portal first, and then click on the all services. So if I go to home page, right from here, then click on all services, and then just search for the enterprise applications. So click on that, and then click on new application, and then from here create your own application. So you can see in the top left corner we have the option called create your own application. Click on that, and here you can just give it a name. So I can just give name like GPPB default, for example, right? And I'm just clicking on create. So I'm not changing any options from what are you looking for. I'm just using this default one and clicking on create. And once the this is created, it will open up with the overview screen, where I will be able to see the application ID and object ID of this application, enterprise application. So we have to copy those. So I'm just opening my notepad, control N, and yeah, let's wait for that. Yeah, so we have that properties available. So I'm just copying this information. So copying the name and storing somewhere in the notepad, then application ID. So why I'm copying this information, because we need this information later on. So it is better to store somewhere object ID. So we are done with this. Now go to your again go to all services. So we have created this GPPB default enterprise applications, and now again I'm going to all services, then select app registrations, and then select all application and search for the one which we have created recently. So you can see this is available, GPPB default, and make sure that the application ID is the same which I have just copied. So it is E0DF. So I'm just comparing. Okay, so this is E0DF D4F, sorry. Yeah, so we are here now. Click on that, and from this window we are just providing some API permissions. So from the left navigation you can just click on API permissions, then click on add a permission. Now from here you have to select Azure DevOps, because we are going to use this enterprise application into our Azure DevOps when it comes to create the service connection. So I'm selecting this Azure DevOps box, and under that we have one option called user impersonation permission. So select that, click on add permission, and again click on add permission, and where we want to run this, right? So for that we have to select the Power Apps runtime service. If you scroll down the page little bit, then we have the Power Apps runtime service option available. So click on that box, and again we can just select this user impersonation. This is for the common data service. And we can just click on add. So we have added two API permission for this. It's better to give a grant admin, though it is not required, but I'm just keeping grant admin consent confirmation yes. Right. So now our enterprise application is ready to connect with Azure DevOps and Power Apps, because we have added two permission boxes, one for the Azure DevOps and one for the Power Apps. Now we need to set up certificate and secret for this application. So if I click on the in the same screen, I'm just clicking on the certificates and secret, and then clicking on add new client secret and just giving the name GPPB default description. So it could be anything, and I am checking this for 24 months as a expire date, expired months, then add. And once it is added, make sure that you just copy this value. So I'm just copying this secret ID and pasting in somewhere. So I'm using the same notepad, ID and value. So value is also required going further. Then I'm just copying that. Control V. We are good. Now we are done with Azure AD part. So now let's move to the Power Platform. So we are done with the enterprise application, and we have also created the client secret and these values. Now jump into the Power App admin environment. So I'm here, and I'm going to open my default environment first, which will be my source for the Power Apps development. So I'm opening that. Maybe I have already opened that. So you can see here, but I need to copy one more thing. So I'm just opening this, and from here you have to copy this environment URL. So I'm just copying this whole thing and pasting in Notepad. So I'm just putting this default environment. We have that copy of the default environment URL. Now this URL, we need this URL. Why we are copying this? Because we need this URL for each environment. Let's say, for example, if you have 3 environment and you are trying to move from dev to UAT and UAT to production, then you should have these 3 environments URL available. So I'll walk you through when we are dealing with the other environment, the destination, and use the different environment URL in that case. Now copy this, and now we have to add the user, like we have to create the application users where we have created that enterprise application. So under the access box, just click on see all, and from there you can see on top of that manage users in Dynamics 365. So click on that, and the default view on this page will be open as a enabled user, and you have to change it to the applications users. But okay, Dynamics 365, yeah, it is taking some time. So if you are not able to see that view in this screen, the screen, this is taking long time. But another option is you have this here. I'm just highlighting this, looking for application users. Click here to go to the app users list, right? So yeah, it is open now, and let me check if we have the applications users view. So I do not see application user view here somehow. So what I will do, I will just close these 2 windows and clicking on app users list, and from here I will add the user, right? So you can see on top of this new app user, I'm just clicking on that, and from this screen what type of user I want to add. So I have to select the uh, add the app which I have created earlier. So I'm just using that application ID, the enterprise application ID. So I'm just copying this and control V. So this user, I have to select this user, right? So I'm just selecting it and adding it. So once we select it, it will be available in the list of these application users, and then from there we have to provide the permissions for this user so they can perform the different actions. So it is taking time. Oh, sorry, I just forgot to select the business unit. So yeah, click on create, and once it is done, the user will be available in the list of application users. Yeah, so we have that. You can see the hash will be added automatically by default, so don't worry about that. Now select that user, click on edit security roles, and from here you can just go with the system administrator and click on save. So we have provided the system administrator privileges to this user. Now keep in mind that this step needs to be repeated for each environment where we want to use Azure DevOps. So either you are trying to use 2 environment or 3 environment, but you have to follow this same process for all the environments. Right? Now we are done with this Power Platform admin center, from where we have just updated few things for the source. Now I am jumping into Azure DevOps. So I am logged in into the Azure DevOps, and assuming that we do not have any projects created for now, or let me just duplicate this tab so I can have the reference of the older settings, right? So from here I'm just creating new project, click on new project and GPPB name, and I'll keep this private and click on create. So once the project is created, this page will be loaded with that newly created project, and from there I have to open this project settings. So you can see the project is created. Now on top, bottom left corner, we have the option called project settings. So I'm just clicking on that, and under this service connection, yeah, under these pipelines we have option called service connections. So why we need this? Because we are trying to have a bridge between the enterprise applications which we have created earlier, and we are just mapping with the Azure DevOps. So I am clicking on the service connection under pipeline. So for this project, so far I do not have any service connection, so click on create service connection. Then from here you can just select Power Platform, right? So we have to select the Power Platform service connection. Next, and here server URL. So now server URL will be our this environment URL which we have copied earlier. So I'm just using this, and this we have to give it the HTTPS, right, like this, and tenant ID. So tenant ID is, I have already copied here in the, so this is your Azure tenant ID, and this can be found from here. I'll show you that. If you go to the Azure portal, click on overview of the enterprise application you have created or app registration, where you can see find the directory or the tenant ID. So copy this. So this is our tenant ID, right? So now go to this and application ID. So copy this application ID which we have created for this enterprise application, control C, and then again control V, and then client secret of client value. So copy this value, this one value BB, and just use here client secret and give it a name. Connection name could be anything. So in this case I'm just using GPPB default. Default is my environment service connection, right? And just check this security checkbox, because we are allowing or granting access permission to all pipelines for this one. So once we are done, just click on save, and we have created our first service connection. Now how we can move our app to source control? So we have created the service connection. Now it is turn to move our app from our default environment to this environment, right? So now let's jump into the default environment, this one, SPC solutions, and create new solution. Why we are creating new solution? Because if we have the solution, then and then it is possible to move from one environment to another environment using Azure DevOps. Only apps, the single app will not work, right? So I'm just giving the name GPPB Pune and I'll select the default publisher. This is default publisher, and rest of the thing as is. I want to go with the unmanaged solution, then click on create. So I am just creating the simple solution here, and now from here GPPB open, adding one app, simple application. I will not write anything. GPPB app, and I want to use the tablet. Create it, or you can use the existing one if you do not want to create. So I'm just keeping one label control here, this one, and want to add the text like welcome to GPPB 2022 Pune. This sorry. So this is the text I want to use in this app. I'll just save this app, save on the cloud, and publish. And now meanwhile it takes some time. Now go to your Azure DevOps. So now in Azure DevOps we will write some commands where it will deal with this. Okay, so let me go back. So it is available now. Now go to Azure DevOps back. Then now here what we need to do, like we are just trying to create a new pipeline for this one. So for that, just go to the project, your project. Then from the project settings, project settings, you go to the repositories. Repository, where is it? Yeah, repositories, and then just click on the security and make sure that the user we have created here, you can see this one. Select the application which whatever we have created. So here it's contribute to allow. So we are just allowing this permission for this the user GPPB Pune build service. So make sure that the contribution is allowed for this user, and now we can go with that new pipeline. Where's pipeline? Then to GPPB Pune, then pipelines, then create pipeline. And I am selecting the classic editor because I am not used to with the modern one. So I'm just using classic one for the simplicity. And from here we can just select the Azure DevOps, Azure Repos Gate. So you can see in the team project, you have your project name available. So you can select whatever the project name you're looking for. So by default, it is connected with the GPPB Pune, and make sure the repository is also selected as whatever you want. And here we should have the main branch instead of master. So let me go to the project first, leave the page, and I'm just creating this wait, and I need to create the branch because I was not able to see that out of the box. So
Should be in repos.
should be in repo GPPB. Yeah. And main branch initialize. Yep. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. So we have that available now. And now I go to the pipelines, create, then classic editor, Azure. Now we have the main. Okay, we are good now, and click on continue. Now this is all about how we can use that. Now once we are setting up this, and we need to select a template from here, so we are not going to use anything from this list, but we just click on the empty project, and from the empty project, if you want to change the name, you can change it, but I will just keep it as is. Then, and again, you go to the variables, so we will use the variables for the solution name. So create one variable called solution name, and solution name here, what we have to use, the name of the solution we have created here, right, in this Power App. So just opening another window and go to the solution. Make sure you are in the correct environment. So I'm selecting this solutions. So this is my solution name, right? So you have to use this internal name, not the display name. So make sure that you just copy this and use this one. And once it is done, you can just go to task, then your agent, click on the plus icon to add the first task for this agent. Now here we will add the first here. Keep in mind that we are trying to use this for the Power Platform. So first command will be, or task will be, to install the Power Platform tools. So we have to select this Power Platform tool installer, click on add, and make sure that we do not need to change anything, because it is just used to install the tool required tools. Now if you want to check something, then you can add another task called who I am, yeah, this one. So this is, I'm just adding for testing whether my this pipeline is working or not. So here you can see we have two radio buttons. So we will select this service principal, and from this drop down, our service principal which we have created, it will be available, the GPPB default service connection. And control options, we are not going to change anything. Let's keep it as is, and just try to click on save and queue. And I'm just using this commit, uh, first set, first check, just committing, click on save and run, and make sure that we should have everything in a green for this agent job. And once we identify that, okay, we have everything in green color, then we are good to go with the next step. So this is just for checking. If you do not want to run this, that's fine, but it's better to verify that whether our service connection works as expected or not. So once it is there, and yeah, I think we should have all this in green. And once we have all the greens, then we will add another task called Power Platform Export Solution, because we are trying to export the solution from the SPC default environment to Azure DevOps at certain locations. So let's wait for this. And once your build is like, if this is succeeded, and you will receive an email that, okay, this is what happened for this task which you have executed in your Azure DevOps. So for rest of the task, I will not execute this process again, but at the end of this demo, I will just run the save and queue, and then we'll see whether our solution is moved from dev to solution, dev to Azure DevOps, or are you getting any errors. Yeah, because installation, Power Platform tool installation will take some time. Otherwise, you can see the rest of the task is taking like less than 5 seconds. But this is the most time consuming process, where it will try to install all the required tool for Power Platform. And here it will just indicate that message, okay, I am this, like the name of the app. And then we will be able to move ahead with the next task by adding the new task. So let's go to the and click on edit. I'm just editing this, assuming that it is working. Now click on the new task, add new task, and we use the Power Platform export solution. So we are just exporting that. Click on that. And again, for this, we have to select the same service principal client. So click on that and select GPPB default one for this one. And for the solution name, you remember we have already created the variable. So I'm just using that variable name, solution name, and solution path. So here we have to use the staging directory of this Azure DevOps. So I have already copied that path here, Power Platform. So I'm just using this just to save the time. I have already copied the parameter files. So here you just keep in mind that we are going to create the unmanaged solution. So that is why I have appended with the underscore unmanaged, and we are having the zip folder for this. And make sure that you should select this the rest of the changes as is. And under advanced, I think we are not changing anything. Okay, we are good. Then we are just saving these changes. I'm not updating anything. Export solution, just commenting it. I'm not executing the queue. And now if you want to execute, you can execute the queue, but it will take some time. So just to save the time, I'm adding another task called, now we have the solution exported. Now we will unpack that solution. So I use Power Platform unpack solution, and in unpack solution, click on that. Again, select the solution input file from the previous location. So I'm just using the export one and just copying this, Control C, Control V. So you can see the build.staging directory, then solution name, that is unmanaged, correct? And we have to set the target folder. So target folder would be our this source directory, and with the unmanaged folder. So why I'm using unmanaged? Because I'm creating this for the unmanaged solution. But if you want that along with this unmanaged one, you want to create managed solution as well, then you have to add these two tasks again and have to select this type of solution from this drop down to specific, like whatever the component you are looking for. So for this one, I'm just using the unmanaged because I want to create unmanaged solution. Now after this, just save the changes, and I'm just putting unpack solution and save it. Right. So now I'm not executing this again. Now I want to publish this artifact, because what we are doing, we are just installing the tools, exporting the solution, unpacking the solution, and now we are adding another task called this build artifacts. So we are just publishing build artifacts, add. In here we have to provide the path to publish that. That will be our source directory one. So I'm just copying that path again, path to publish, where it is, back solution file name, target folder, yeah, this one, target folder to unpack, sorry, target folder to unpack, yeah, path to publish, this one, copy, path to publish, just using this, or you can use from the previous task as well, but just to be a safer side, I'm just copying that. And under this script here, advance this. Yeah, so artifact will be here, and now we create another task called command line where we will execute this script. Command line. So here I will need to use this script. So in this script we just need to have two things as a mandatory option, like one is the email address and one is the ADO build. So ADO build is, you can use anything, like if I want to use any name, I can use GPPB. You can use anything, but it is required that your email address should be there and name should be there, and these are the commands that it will commit uh, all the changes or the solution you are looking for. Right now, after this, make sure that your agent job 1 should have permission to execute this script, because this script will ask some kind of authorization. So make sure that agent job 1, if you scroll down a little bit, then under the additional options you have checkbox called allow script to access the OAuth token. So check this checkbox, and uh, this will allow you to execute that, right? And then click on save and queue. So this time we'll go with this, and solution in Azure DevOps, and click on save and run. Now our solution will be available in the Azure DevOps under this project. If I go to this project, I'm just opening in the new window. Then in this project, this solution will be there. So I'm just opening this agent, and we have to wait for a few minutes just to have green, everything in a green color. If we have any error, then we just need to go back and fix that error first. So make sure that you check that a script one, otherwise it will give you an error, like you do not have an access or you are not authorized to execute this script. And once this all the steps done, then we will be able to see that project folder into our environment, the Azure DevOps. So our solution will be in the source control, in short, right? Under the manage unmanaged folder. For now we have used unmanaged, but if you are trying to create managed solution as well, then you will be having two folders, one for the managed solution and one for the unmanaged solution. And after that, once everything is green, then we will be able to move that into the trial version. So let's consider that it will execute without any error. So now let's move to the another environment that is for the test one I've created. So I'm just clicking on the environments, and this one SPC dev, this is our destination environment. So far whatever we have done, like the app which we have created in the solution in the default environment, it is available in Azure DevOps now, and from the Azure DevOps we will push this app to the SPC dev solution. So if I click on this environment, see again in the beginning I told that we need to use this environment URL. So I'm just copying this environment URL again for this one, and then I will not create the new that enterprise application. I will use the same one. So for this one, we have to add that user, application user. So you have to follow the same step, nothing extra. So click on the users list, add this user, add app, and select the application ID. Application ID, this one, and we will have that GPPB one, GPPB default. Add this, select business unit, and create the user. So once the user is created, you will be able to allow the permission. So click on edit security roles, select system administrator, and save it. So once you are done with this, we are all set with this one, the setting the user. Then we need to go with Azure DevOps again. So we have to create that bridge, the service connection now for this one. So let's see where we are. Okay, so almost done. Once this is done, we will be able to move ahead. So go to the project settings. So we are in the existing project GPPB Pune. So I'm just clicking on the project settings again, and from there I just need to click on the service connection again, clicking on that. So click on new service connection. So this was for the default environment. Now we are creating for the destination environment, the SPC dev. So select Power Platform, select that, next, and then again server URL. So we have to pass the destination URL, like the environment URL where we are trying to push this solution. So use this tenant ID again, the same one. I'm taking from this, copy, and application ID, same one, same application ID I'm going to use. Copy this, and secret BB dash, then service connection name. So I'm here using GPPB destination, for example, destination service connection, and grant security and save it. So the same steps we have followed for which we follow for the first the source environment when we were talking about how to set up that security. Now go to the Azure DevOps and we are going to create the release. So let's see what has happened with this one. I'm assuming that it is executed. So okay, now go to the release. So release. Go to the project, pipelines, releases. Now click on new pipeline, and we should go with the empty job. Then under this, you can change the name like post to destination or the production. Just changing the name. And then under the artifacts, you can use this select Azure repos. So click on that. Now here the question should be like why we are not using build instead of Azure repos. So build you can use if you are planning to have the CI/CD, but for this demo I am just going to move this whole solution from one environment to another. So make sure that you know the difference. So I'm using this Azure repos. Select your project from this drop down. So I'm using this GPPB Pune, and source repository will be this one. And you can see the default branch, again main branch, and the default version. We are not going to change anything here, right? So let's keep it as is, and uh, click add. So we have added that. Now again we are going to update the variables. So here we just use solution name, and solution name will be the one which we have used, this one, GPPB. So now go to the pipeline, then agent job, agent job, and make sure that we have that allow script enable. Now we are going to add some task here. So click on the plus icon, and then again we have to install the Power Platform tools. Now this is the these are the straightforward steps that we have already performed. So we are not going to change anything here. We will keep as is. Then another task is here we have to do the reverse task. So in the first task we have just unpack the solution. Now here we will pack the solution. So we'll see for this, pack the solution, click, select, then source of the folder will be, you can see if, yeah, so our folder is there. You can see GPPB Pune and unmanaged. This is coming from the build which we have executed earlier. So select that folder, unmanaged, okay, and you can use solution output path. I have just copied that here. Solution output path for the trial version. Solution output path. This one, CP. Solution output path. This build staging directory slash dollar solution name dot zip, and select the type. Make sure you are selecting the correct type for the solution. So for this demo I have used unmanaged, so I'm just selecting the unmanaged, and then again adding new task called Power Platform. Now we are importing this. In the previous one we were exporting, now here we are importing the solution. So we use that, click on service connection. Now select the service connection we have created for the destination. So default service connection we have used for the initial one when we are moving that solution from my development local system to Azure DevOps. Now we have to select destination service and source input file. You can also use this. Let me copy the command from here. Source input file, this one. Okay, so solution input file is this build.staging directory slash solution name dot zip. Now under advanced we have to select this override and activate and skip product update dependency. So we are not managing any dependency, we are just keeping everything and overwriting the unmanaged customization. So we have to select these three checkboxes and then again adding the new task Power Platform publish customization. So now it's time to publish the customization. So select that, click on the service principal, select the destination one, then which has been created under the release, right? So we have created this into release, and we have to create that, save, click on save, save, yeah, save, okay, and create release. So we are just creating the release, click on create. Now let's see how the release will go. Once the release is successfully done, then our app will be available under this environment. Let me open that. So this is my default one. This is my SPC dev, where you can see we do not have any solution called GPPB, right? So this was the earlier one I have created, but for our demo GPPB Pune will be there, the solution name will be there. So let's see. So yeah, it is still in progress. Click on that and we'll see. Should be in green, and once it is done we will be able to see that. So most important thing is this step will take more time, like when it comes to the installing the Power Platform tool. So this is the only step which can take around 2 minutes. Otherwise rest of the task will take around less than 30 seconds maybe, right? So yeah, so I think we are good importing the solution. Fingers crossed, we should not have any error.
While we are waiting, probably there are some questions if you like to answer. I can just
Yeah.
read it.
Yes.
One of them being when to use managed and unmanaged solution.
Yeah, it depends. Like some of the time, what we are trying to use, if we are trying to move from one environment to another environment, but we want to change the solution or app in the destination environment, then we can use with the managed one. And if we have the unmanaged option, then we will not be able to update them in the destination environment. So it is better that you can define what type of solution you want to move from source to destination. Based on that, you can select that type.
Is right. Okay. Other one being, can we also migrate using PowerShell?
Yes, PowerShell is also used, but for this PowerShell, I have not used, but I think YAML will be used where you can just create the set of commands. Because I have not used PowerShell,
Yes,
so
I think we should be. I mean, as per my understanding, we should be able to use PowerShell also.
Yeah.
But the DevOps gives us basically an automation in place, wherein probably with the PowerShell, we would have to manually run that PowerShell once we create a PowerShell and we even run it whenever we need it, right? But with the DevOps, we get the automation piece of it. There are other questions you can continue, but let's do it later. You can continue your session.
yeah, so we have all the steps executed here, and you can see the solution is available in this environment, SPC dev. Right, so now click on this and see whether the app is available or not. Yes, so we have the app. Now let's open this and see what data is available in that. And see, this is the answer for that manage and unmanaged. Now I have moved this app as an unmanaged solution in the destination. I will be able to edit this app. Like this, and save it, right? So this is how this whole mechanism will work, and from here you can just share the app with different users. So our app is available from this environment, destination environment, to new environment as a unmanaged solution. Yeah, so that's all about this, and I hope everyone understand the process how we can use this. And yeah, and see that I can take the questions offline.
Yes.
In the chat window, right?
I think we have a couple of minutes if we want to spare. There are not many questions, so probably I can just read it out.
Yeah.
One of the question being, I don't see Power App Platform as a new service connection in my DevOps. What can be the reason? I'm not sure. Probably we would be able to answer that, but if you can, uh, does it need any special permission or anything?
No, no. If you have the Azure DevOps access, then you will be able to see that. I
Right.
don't think, because I have not tried with other users, because I am the owner of the my Azure DevOps directory. Because yeah, but I can check with other members with whom I have shared that project.
Correct. One more question. What are the source and staging directories from Virender?
Yeah, so staging directory is basically used when you are moving your solution from dev to Azure. So it will provide you kind of intermediate area where you can place your the solution. So that is why it is staging, and the source one will be yours one when you are trying to move from your uh, physical location to the destination one.
Okay. Other two which we answered, the probably the last one being, is it required to have two different pipelines to export and import, or we can combine all tasks into one?
No, we cannot combine in all, because in the first step, what I have done, I have just move my Power Apps from my environment to Azure DevOps under the source control, right? And then I have created the release which will move that solution from